Hello, everyone. My name is Proinsias Tuama. I am a teacher by trade. That's the day job. So you can be preparing for a test at the end of this. Get you comfortable. No falling off, no going to sleep. So ultimately, I suppose I'm going to talk to you about what we are doing. And I suppose I'm just going to tell you a story of our journey. That's basically what it is. So you can relax, you don't have to take notes. There is no test afterwards. So ultimately, we are kind of, I suppose, when we look at this, so this is Archie. This made the front page of the Examiner. He is from Middleton. This was a scything event we did in Ardnahinch. And we're managing, I suppose, when you come into it and how we did it. We started as a coast care group. With Clean Coast, and some of you here will be more than familiar with the Clean Coast programme. Ballynamona Beach, it's 1.2 kilometres, and we started by removing 12 tonnes from Ballynamona Beach. I suppose what's in particular about Ballynamona is that it's in an SPA for 12 species of winter wading birds. You know, we get bar-tailed godwits, curlews, golden plovers, and so on. And that was our first year, and when you're kind of looking at that, and because I'm a school teacher, apart from the kids kind of trying to wrangle a day off and come to the beach litter picking, we actually just started a genuine conversation, and it was kind of, oh, I wonder how long the coast of Ireland is, and then we start finding that out, and it's 3,200 kilometres, and there's hardly 12 tonnes on every kilometre, is there? So then that's where we start kind of getting into it, and when you fast forward to today, 7 years later, we've brought over 2,000 people beach cleaning with us. About 1,700, more than 1,700 of those have been primary and secondary school students. We have about 300 plus regular volunteers. We're managing 3% of the total Irish coastline for marine litter. That's basically going from Youghal right up into Middleton and all the beaches that we can access in between. We've also started a project, I suppose, this year in Cork Harbour on the most recent eyeball survey. That was released, which is conducted by the Antashka Environmental Education Unit. 2 places in Cork were found to be the dirtiest places in Ireland, and 2 of them are on our watch. That's no indictment on the community, but it actually is just highlighting a bigger problem within Cork Harbour. Only last Monday, I had 36 TYs out on Blackrock Castle, and in those few hours we removed 440 kilos of rubbish. Historic rubbish. I just want to let that settle, 440 kilo. We started on the 1st of March with 125 students where we removed 1.1 tonnes. We've been engaging with City Council, who in fairness realise and understand the issue in the harbour. They sent out a crew, they removed 860 kilo. During Cork Harbour Fest, we removed another few hundred kilos, so we're just under 3 tonnes since the 1st of March. We do CSR days, we've multiple awards, I suppose. One of the ones that isn't up there, because in my role as a school teacher, we were Biodiversity School of the Year, Irish Wildlife Trust Biodiversity School of the Year at the first Biodiversity Conference in 2019. It would be really good to see that coming back, because schools react to those kind of things, TY programs, those kind of things, what could you do, whatever it is. A good sponsor for that now with the National Biodiversity Data Centre, something that would be really worthwhile, and you'd see engagement, because sometimes it can't just be from the top down, sometimes it can be from the bottom up. And we get those thought leaders coming from the bottom up, because even, when you're talking about kids going into the supermarket, no, mammy, you can't buy the packet of oranges in the net. You have to buy them loose, because the netting is plastic, and we don't need that. So that's just to sow that seed there, because it's a biodiversity conference. And that's young Oren there. He's my pride and joy. He's 6. There's 2 more there to come, so they'll be modelling for the paper soon, hopefully. That's Blackrock Castle. That's 1st of March. Go on, you can let it out and be Father Ted. Oh, the hell, you know, in the sheep contest. Yeah, that's literally what we're facing. And on Monday, actually, I didn't include the picture in the slide, but there was a Tanora can. Tanora is a real Cork drink. A Tanora can, and we're able to date it to 1988 and 1989. That's after, by the way, about 200 people traversing 500 meters of foreshore, removing the 2.2 tons as it was. And we still managed to find this stuff. Yeah, it kind of is an archaeological dig, all right, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And why are we removing the plastic? So all the photographs you've seen until now are our own. Why are we removing the plastic? Because the evidence is there. Heidi Akinpur up in Mayo Galway Institute is finding plastic in seabirds on the coast of Ireland. So I'm just going to put that up there. What do you think that number is? It's 2,622 hours. Yes, it's time, it's a number. But what's so significant about it? It's free. Is it? The bus last Monday cost us €350, so it's definitely not free. Yeah, that's another way of summing up that figure. And that number is the number of hours that we, as a community group, have given just in the last 12 months. And if we're to put a value on it, so I suppose that will be the school kids, that will be the CSR days that we run, and that's basically the time. So we can convert that time using the average industrial wage that's what it would have cost, about 26, 27 euros, whatever it is. When I was Googling this at 1 o'clock this morning, trying to finish this. We can rephrase that number another way. This is one person working for 1.1 years, 8 hours a day, with 1 hour for lunch, not included in that 8 hours, basically 9 to 6, 1 hour off in the day, with 4 weeks off for their holiday leave, not working weekends, so 1.33 years. So the role, I suppose, the community can play is you can get all that by, I won't say enabling them. You can be multipliers for them and how you support your community groups. Because I suppose the bit that I'm just about to move on to is the East Cork Biodiversity Networking Programme. So as a Clean Coast group, as I'm driving around East Cork, I suppose I was observing lots of great work being done, and I was also observing maybe unnecessary work or work that maybe, it was well intended, but it wasn't the best outcome that we were going to get. So founded the East Cork Biodiversity Networking Programme. Basically the aim of it, and it's there, is to provide simple messages, simply. So if we talk about pollinators, even with the kids in the school, what do bees need? Food, safety, shelter. And how do we do that? It's the same with businesses locally that we're working with. It's just to give that simple message. You don't need to use Roundup on the driveway in, to wherever we're going, all right? So there's just getting people to think. No, installing a honeybee hive isn't really a biodiversity action. It might be something for food miles, maybe, but that's not a biodiversity action, and maybe you might need to just consider that. So it was founded in 2017. John O'Regan in the environmental section in Cork Cocoa gave us a bit of money, and Michelle Green has continued that since. Thank you, Michelle. She's here somewhere today. Because without funding, it's volunteer. We don't get funding. We get grants. We try and get, and I think our business model or our funding model pre-COVID is very different to what it is now, because, I certainly couldn't go with my hand out to local businesses because staff were furloughed, places were closed, and we had to kind of do a little bit of a rethink in that. So it is comprised of tidy towns and Clean Coast groups, businesses, the NGOs locally as well with us, and local authorities. That's our first meeting. If you look at that picture and look really closely, Una has delivered her talk to us. And I'd say she was like a real cross mother with us because there was so much work to do in it. So that was our first meeting. We move along to the second meeting. Tony Nagel's in the room. Tony is part of the BRIDE project, Biodiversity Regeneration in a Daring Environment, that he, Paul Moore, and Donald Sheehan came up with, and that was in the Jemison Academy, which the general public don't go to. It was a really cool place to be in, because you were kind of seeing all the, there's a cage just to the right there that you can't see, and there's a load of expensive whiskies that none of us could probably afford. But in that particular meeting as well, we also had Maharees up, and we had some other groups from Kerry up as well to that who came up to East Cork. And I think the trick was simply get your community leaders of your Tidy Towns groups into a room. Feed them. Give them coffee. Give them scones. Give them a lunch. And facilitate, I suppose, provide the facilitation where they all get into a room and they have those conversations. You know, particularly Tidy Towns groups. We've really good Tidy Towns groups, like, let's say, Cove and Cork, who, and their story is phenomenal. 10, 12 years ago, they were on the Irish Times as the dirtiest town in Ireland. And last year in the Tidy Towns competition, they were about 2 points or 1 point off from winning the bloody thing. You know, and an amazing group. So those guys talking to other community groups and how you do something or how did you carry out that. There's a lot of learning in the room. Una's much happier here in this one because she can see that, you know, things were being done, things were changing, because there's a map coming up and I want to show you the map as well. Oh, this is Castlemartyr Resort. Liam came down because, you know, we asked him and he gave an excellent talk. And basically, when we talk about those simple messages, simply bringing those messages. So if you get the community leaders into a room, they're the ones that are doing. So they bring the information and disseminate it back then amongst the other people in the group. And that was, so as you can see, it's kind of growing. The pictures are kind of getting a little bit bigger. And we actually had groups as well from West Waterford in on that day, and that was the Castlemartyr Resort. I do want to show you this as well, actually. This is something that we're kind of, I won't say innovating or pioneering, it's not, it's already there. This is chemical-free weed treatment, right? So you've got French drains on the side of the road. In this particular case, it's the golf course. It's the Castlemartyr Resort golf course. And this is a company in Cork called weedmaster.ie, if you ever want to look them up. And basically, it's chemical-free weed treatment. It's water at 99 degrees centigrade delivered out at the end. So there's French drains that need to be done on the golf course. And there's Paddy, the head greenkeeper, trialling it around the hotel. So at the back of the hotel, there's a hedge maze. And they stopped using glyphosate there last year with a bit of help and I suppose a bit of persuading. And he said that even the hedge, you know, has never been as green, and they can see the differences, and getting them to kind of make those little changes from, I suppose, looking at it more holistically from the whole thing of biodiversity, not just, let's say, weed killer, but it's how we actually manage it, because, you know, we can do all those things, but it's the behavior that goes on sometimes is what we're actually trying to change. So this is the map as of yesterday evening, and Una, in her first presentation back in 2018, showed us a map in East Cork, and there might have been 1 or 2 dots on that map. That was it. I'm going to talk to you about one of those, I don't know if I can get that thing up there a little bit. I'm going to just talk to you about one of those little purple dots, Garryvoe. So, Michelle Green is there, you can see yourself in that. This is a €37,000 project. It was basically a John Deere tractor because we were managing Garryvoe and a few other sites with just a lawnmower, walk behind push lawnmower. In that picture, we've got TDs, we've got local councillors, we've got council workers, we've got Clean Coast Coastal Community Manager. We also have Bordish Gawara members from that, and also a rather big landowner, local business from the Irish distillers, the distillery. So basically, this is Garryvoe. So Garryvoe, I suppose, historically would have been managed, just cut the grass and leave it, walk on. It was just grass. It was just grass everywhere. And then cut it and leave it down. And there was nothing really major about it. It was just being managed or maintained. So This is this year, so there's lots of clovers, there's kidney vetches, there's birds for trefoil, and there's everything that's coming up in it. And how we're managing it now at the moment, so for next year, is that we had a wedding photographer and a young wildlife photographer who's learning his trade. And the wedding photographer this year, because the hut's in front of Garryvoe Hotel, there's wedding photographs now being taken in our meadow. Historically, the wedding photographers used to get them down onto the beach, get Ballycotton Island into the background. Now we're going into the meadow for our photographs. So the Garryvoe Hotel are now seeing the kind of economic impact that these changes are making. And that's the picnic benches. So it's about a total of 6 acres.
Beach clean completed, members of the group are now tending to the coastline just beside it.
Well, this afternoon what we're doing is we're bringing together people to, I suppose, have a look at a demonstration of how scything works and how important it is particularly in environmental management for things like pollinators. So we can see the guys are starting to scythe here, and this is a far more environmentally friendly and better management technique for green areas like this.
And to encourage biodiversity, it's important to remove the grass cuttings.
So here in Garryvoe, this is just 6 of 34 acres that we're actively managing for pollinators. So what we're doing is we're cutting and baling our long flowering meadow here, and that's how we're managing it. So once a year in the autumn, we cut and we remove the cuttings in bales. Because if we were just to cut it and leave the grass cuttings there, they would add nutrients to the soil, and you'd get more stronger grasses there, and we don't want that for the pollinators, with them being in decline. So what we'll do is, by removing the cuttings, we're reducing the nutrients that are going down into the soil, so we'll get a better proliferation of wildflowers as we actively manage it in the years going forward. So that was that. That was Nationwide who came to see, but it was like simple messages, simply cut the grass, pick it up, remove it, you get more wildflowers. That was the basic message there. Michael John, in the earlier part of the video there, was just kind of, I suppose, just highlighting why we were just doing a little bit of scything, just to show how it was traditionally done, and just that whole education piece. That's what we do as community groups, as volunteers. I'm pretty much done. Right? Just the last thing. So we started in 2015 as a coast care group. Just doing a beach clean on an odd Sunday. This is where we are today. We're managing 3% of the coastline. We manage 34 acres for biodiversity. And if you look at this stat here, we've consulted upon and helped implement biodiversity plans on over 600 acres in the last 3 years. That's all voluntary. Helped by Cork County Council, helped by Cork City Council, and local businesses, because you guys are multipliers of what we can do as a community group. Thank you. Just a final piece, it is biodiversity related. We are making this sign template freely available to anybody who wants it. On our beach clean last weekend on Garryvoe, on Ardnahinch, we came across 6 gannets who had expired. The QR code will bring to the Department of Ag. It's free to use. You can put your own logo on it. You can just take the wording, whatever have you. If you want to email me afterwards, I can email it to you, and you can do what you wish with it. It is certainly an emergency. I don't know if Ricky's going to be talking about it or anything like that, but it's certainly something that we can see on the coast. We haven't seen the number of dead seabirds turning up on our coast, in particular where we're working, ever. I'll leave my details up there, and thank you very much for your time.